Calm, focus, happiness. Reach new heights of calm, focus, and happiness here in Mindfulness Mode with me, your host and mindfulness life coach, Bruce Langford. Mindful Tribe, we're here to talk about poetry, the creative word, how we can reach our creativity and how that can be part of our mindfulness. And I'm very honored to have a fantastic poet with me today. I have James Koosers with me today. James, are you in mindfulness mode today?
I think so. I hope so.
I think you definitely are, James. But first, what does mindfulness mean to you?
Well, mindfulness for me, I kind of fall back on John Kabat-Zinn's definition of mindfulness, which is basically just non-judgmental, close attention to what's arising in our thoughts, our minds, our hearts. And so for me, mindfulness is really just a kind of deep attention to experience as it arises and wherever it's arising. So in the mind, heart, or the body. And and mindfulness for me too is just a necessary ingredient for me as a writer as well. I may be jumping ahead here, but I just feel like I have to put a plug in that, writing is such a great form of mindfulness, and you don't have to be a writer to do it. It's such a great way to enter into this practice that we're talking about.
As we move on in the interview, James, I want to ask you 5 quick answer questions. So just 30-second answers are perfect. The first one is this: who is one person who has been a mindfulness influence in your life?
So that would be Ted Koosers, poet, who was a mentor of mine in graduate school. And he's still writing mindful, amazing poetry.
Oh, wonderful. And well, let's talk about your emotions and how have your emotions changed or the way you deal with your emotions as a result of the work you've done with mindfulness?
Definitely. Yeah, I'm able to name the emotions, which I think um, wasn't ever the case before. Anxiety, shame. It's so useful to be able to name what's coming up and to really distinguish. And my marriage has helped with that too, I'll just say.
Let's talk about breathing. Do you
Mhm.
have some thoughts on breathing as it relates to mindfulness?
Well, the kind of meditation I do tends to really focus on the breath. And so I usually, when I'm meditating, I have a very busy mind. And so I count my breaths, one in breath, out breath, one in breath, out breath, two, and do that in sets of fours when I'm especially caught in my mind and my thoughts.
Do you have a book that you would recommend? Your book called The Path to Kindness is one I recommend to you, Mindful Tribe, to my listeners. But do you
Mhm.
have a book that you recommend?
Well, staying in the vein of poetry, there's a wonderful anthology of mindfulness poems called Poetry of Presence. And the editors of that are two wonderful women. And it's a collection of poems that will really illuminate and help people settle as well.
Okay, I'll put that into our show notes at mindfulnessmode.com. And is there an app of any description that you would suggest to our listeners?
Hmm. I don't really use many apps, but in the past, Headspace, something that people may be familiar with, has been really helpful. So I have used that and find that really calming.
And your website is jameskoosers.net. James Koosers, just as it sounds, JamesCrews.net. What would we expect to find there at your website, James?
Well, links to books, definitely some sample poems, a few videos from various interviews. And, I do a lot of readings and virtual readings. And so you can look those up online as well. And I'm on social media. So if folks are curious what kinds of poems I'm writing or posting, it's my own and by many other people, they can definitely follow me on Instagram or Facebook.
Instagram and Facebook, are those your two social media places of choice?
Yeah, those are the only two. I'm just one person, so I can only handle so
Sure.
much input
Of
in a
course.
day.
Of course. Words of wisdom for our
Mm,
listeners before we say goodbye, James.
mm. When you're doing something creative, do your best to turn off the inner critic. Don't doubt yourself and listen to what your body is telling you.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing your work with the world. And thank you for being on Mindfulness Mode.
Absolutely, Bruce. This was such a pleasure.
All the best to you, James. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Mindful Tribe. Are you experiencing anxiety? Are you experiencing stress and tension and feeling as though, it's just difficult to move on? That describes the clients I work with. Clients who have had an awful lot of problem with anxiety and stress, and maybe some kind of habits that are holding them back. And through hypnosis, we get to the bottom of it. We get right in there and we talk about it. But with hypnosis, we get right into what is causing some of this in your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind represents about 90 to 95% of your thoughts. And you don't even realize what those thoughts are much of the time. And through hypnosis, we can get in there and we can work at this. Doesn't mean we're going to change what's going on in your subconscious mind. It means we're going to become more aware of it and then deal with it and think of it differently in the conscious mind. And I am so happy to have helped so many people with their anxiety through hypnosis and coaching. And you could be the next person. If you're listening to this episode and you would like to let go of some of this anxiety, send me an email, bruce@mindfulnessmode.com, and put free session. No, you better not put the word free in there, because sometimes that doesn't get through on email, but put coaching session in the subject line. Coaching session, send it to bruce@mindfulnessmode.com. And I would love to have you on a Zoom call for a free session where we can talk about what's going on and what's happening and how can I help you. Because that's one thing I truly know about myself, is that I really love helping other people, and I would love to help you. So thanks for listening. Take what we've learned today to reach new heights of calm, focus, and happiness. Stay in the mode.